We come now to the adjournment. The whip to move.
Beg to move this House do now adjourn.
The question is that this House do now adjourn. Mr. Rehman Chishti.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for this opportunity to raise in Parliament the horrific, evil and brutal attack on the Army Public School in Peshawar last month and the UK's support for Pakistan on the war on terror. Whilst the official 40 days of mourning have now passed, Chairman, the people of Pakistan still weep for the tragic loss of innocent life on that day, which claimed the lives of 134 children and many teachers who lost their lives trying to save their children. Pakistan is a brave and courageous nation which has had to face many challenges in its short history. Pakistan worked with the international community in defeating the Russian communist threat in Afghanistan and stood with the international community after 9/11 in the fight against global terrorism. Its citizens and armed forces continue to face the daily threat from terrorist organisations operating across the border in Afghanistan.
Will the honourable gentleman give way?
Of course I give way.
I thank the honourable gentleman for giving way. Given the challenges that Pakistan has faced with national and international catastrophes like flooding, like earthquakes, does the honourable gentleman not agree with me that it is incumbent on the United Kingdom, with our relationship with Pakistan, to do all we can to support it through yet another difficult time?
My honourable friend is absolutely right in highlighting the importance of our two great countries' relationship, and he himself knows, as the Vice Chairman of the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Pakistan, having visited the country, and as Chairman of the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Kashmir, he himself being a passionate and strong friend of Pakistan, he recognises the importance that there is, and therefore that the United Kingdom has always stood shoulder to shoulder with Pakistan and will continue to do so. And I think Pakistan is very fortunate to have people like him as friends and advocates here in Parliament. Pakistan lost its courageous and talented former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto to an act of terror. I have to say, Mr. Speaker, that I had the real privilege of working with Ms. Bhutto as an advisor from 1999 to 2007. Natural disasters such as floods and earthquakes have taken the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. No one, Mr. Speaker, can question the resilience of this brave and courageous nation. The horrific and evil act in Peshawar has united the country and its political parties to come together in the national interest to defeat this evil organisation, with its brave armed forces taking the fight to the terrorists.
Will my honourable friend give way?
Of course I give way.
I thank my honourable friend for giving way, and I congratulate my honourable friend for securing this debate. I know, like me, he went to the Pakistani High Commission soon after this dreadful attack to sign the Book of Condolence and express our sorrow at this tragedy. Would he join with me in paying tribute to organisations across the length and breadth of the United Kingdom who organised their own books of condolence, vigils and fundraisers for the victims, including the Burnley and Pendle Friends League, who organised an event which I attended at the People's Centre in Briarfield?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, it gives me a real privilege and a pleasure to do that, and I know he himself, as the chairman of the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Pakistan, has done everything he possibly can to build a relationship between our two great countries. And I know the former High Commissioner who sits in the public gallery will remember his many meetings with my honourable friend as chairman of the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Pakistan, and it is right, people across the United Kingdom came together, showed solidarity with the people of Pakistan at this difficult hour. This was a cowardly terrorist attack by the TTP, which struck at the very youngest and the most vulnerable, and is a reminder that Pakistan remains on the front line on terrorism. God forbid if Pakistan should fall as the front line in fighting terrorism, then the world would become a dark and unsafe place, affecting each and every part of the world. Mr. Speaker, it is important to clarify one thing. The TTP, like many other terrorists, have often been described as Islamist extremists or Islamist terrorists, thereby linking with them Islam, which is what they want. We should be clear and refer to them and any other terrorist who wants to link their evil act to Islam simply as terrorists and extremists. That is it. They are terrorists, they are extremists, and we should not give them the credibility of linking this great religion with their evil acts. Of course I give way.
Could I gently suggest to him that he might want to go one step further, and that is that these extremists never hesitate to call other Muslims with whom they disagree un-Islamic, and therefore see the point of his argument to say they are not Islamist, they are not Islamic. Just calling them terrorists and extremists isn't quite enough. You need some context, and could I suggest un-Islamic extremists as a possible denomination for them?
My honourable friend is an expert on the matters of defence, and I have great admiration and respect for him, and I take on board the point he makes, and I think it is very clear that everyone around the world would want to make it clear that these individuals are terrorists and extremists. And often, Mr. Speaker, when I've commented on these matters on television, I often get emails to say I'm a non-Muslim myself for calling them terrorists. And we do know, Mr. Speaker, who's the terrorist and the extremist in this context.
On that point, would my...
Of course I give way.
I'm grateful to my honourable friend for giving way, and can I actually congratulate on securing this debate. The issue in Peshawar was very, very salient, very pertinent when it hit the news headlines. But on a similar point, is it not imperative on the discourse on this issue that people should always remember globally, not just us in the UK, that regardless of your background, be you Sunni, Shia, whatever faith you may be, that many of these organisations kill people of an Islamic faith, whatever their denomination, and that is the crucial point.
My honourable friend is absolutely right, and it's a point which I will refer to in due course, because it's the point made by the former Foreign Secretary, the Right Honourable Member for Richmond, who said in 2013 the people who have suffered the most as a result of terrorism is Muslims themselves. So he's absolutely right, and I also congratulate him for the work he does in strengthening our two countries' great relationship.
Would he give way?
Yes, I would give way.
Does he agree with me that when people commit these atrocities in the name of Islam, that they also betray catastrophically sometimes the vast majority of law-abiding, decent Muslims in this country, who then have to defend themselves? Will he agree with me that it's a double betrayal on their fellows?
My honourable friend for High Wycombe is absolutely right. When these individuals who carry out these evil atrocities in the name of Islam or religion, they undermine the wonderful, peaceful, tolerant Muslim community around the world in our great country. He is absolutely right, and I know he does a brilliant job in building that great relationship between our two countries. And in 2012, when I was in Pakistan, I was walking through Karachi, I was surprised to see he also was in Pakistan at the same time. So I know the importance of the relationship he pays between our two countries. Linked to this, I welcome the recent articles by Prince Turki Al Faisal of Saudi Arabia, the former Saudi ambassador to the UK and head of the Saudi intelligence service, who has suggested we call Daesh in Syria and Iraq as Fawash in Arabic, meaning obscenity, and not ISIL, as they want to be linked to Islam by proclaiming to be an Islamic state. Mr. Speaker, there is no such thing as an Islamic state. Let's not give them any legitimacy and call them what they are. Terrorists, extremists who believe in an obscene ideology. Pakistan is not alone in facing such horrific, brutal, evil atrocities carried out by terrorists, as we saw only a few weeks ago when gunmen attacked the office of Charlie Hebdo and a Jewish supermarket in Paris. In Belgium, police have foiled a plot to attack police, and in 2013 there was the brutal attack on a shopping mall in Kenya. Since 2003, over 40,000 civilians and over 6,000 security forces in Pakistan have been killed in the continual war on terror. And as the former Foreign Secretary, the Right Honourable Member for Richmond, made the point in 2013, and as referred to by the Honourable Member for Wolverhampton, Muslim communities are bearing the brunt of terrorism worldwide at the hands of people who espouse a distorted and violent extremist interpretation of a great and peaceful religion. Terrorists such as the Taliban claim to be Islamic, but it is an interpretation which has no resemblance to Islam and is rejected by the overwhelming Muslims around the world. The Quran teaches us to be tolerant of others and to live in peace. Chapter 5, verse 32 says that if anyone killed a person, it would be as if he killed the whole of mankind. And if anyone saves a life, it will be as if he saved the life of the whole of mankind. Recent events, Mr. Speaker, have shown us that our freedom of speech can never be threatened or destroyed through violence, and there can be no justification for causing death or the use of violence. Yet also, we need to be tolerant and respectful of other people's religious beliefs, whatever they may be: Christianity, Judaism, Sikhism, Hinduism, Bahaism, and Islam, to name just a few, that they are cherished by billions of people around the world. Rights come with responsibilities, and we need to be careful not to mock other people's religions, which can lead to intolerance, and intolerance feeds into the terrorist extremist agenda of wanting to divide communities and societies, and makes our society a less safe place for all. These are not my assertions, Mr. Speaker, but these are of a great man with great intellect and wisdom and a passion to serve humanity, which is there for all to see. I'm referring to Pope Francis, for whom I have great admiration and respect. Pope Francis recently said and spoke, saying this very issue, where he said the right to liberty of expression comes with the obligation to speak for the common good. The UK has continued to stand shoulder to shoulder with those affected by terrorism and has always been a strong friend and an ally of Pakistan. The Prime Minister summed this up when he said that our close relationship. In this battle, the friends of Pakistan are the friends of Britain. The enemies of Pakistan are the enemies of Britain. And after the Peshawar attack, the UK offered its assistance, and I know that DFID has collaborated on providing counselling to those who have been affected. Many people in the KP province have become displaced, and we should consider how best the UK and DFID can help in that region, in particular with the temporary displaced persons. Pakistan has played a part in helping the international community to tackle the threat of terrorism. There are many examples, including the capture of Ramzi Youssef, one of the perpetrators of the World Trade Center bombing, and Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, one of Al-Qaeda's most senior operatives. He was the mastermind behind 9/11 and the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, as well as the failed Bojinka and shoe bomber plots.
Would my honourable friend give way?
Yes, of course I give way.
Would he also agree that one of the most important ways in which the UK government through DFID can work together with the government of Pakistan is through the support of the education system, particularly in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and in Punjab, where there is tremendous UK support for Pakistani schools?
My honourable friend is absolutely right, and he knows that very well, having served and still continuing to serve on the DFID Select Committee. The United Kingdom has always supported Pakistan at difficult moments, but in relation to the support on education and health, Pakistan is the largest recipient in relation to education, and he's absolutely right. If you want to give somebody hope, opportunity, aspiration, and a life of not being sucked into extremism or radicalisation, you give them education, and that is where he is absolutely right. The United Kingdom has always done that and will continue to support Pakistan in that respect. At the forefront of the battle with terrorism, Pakistan faces several major challenges. With a porous border with Afghanistan, around 40,000 make the crossing every day, putting pressure on security checks, especially at the two main crossings in Dorkum and in Jammu. And I understand from discussions with the Pakistan officials that they would appreciate assistance to enable them to monitor the border more effectively, including the provision of additional technology and intelligence gathering and sharing. Some other suggestions include technology such as biometric scanners, night goggles, GSM intelligence gathering, and the UK currently provides a GSM tracking vehicle. I believe this vehicle was crucial in tracking those who were responsible for the terrorist attacks in Peshawar, and is crucial in helping to destroy the terrorist networks and leaderships in Pakistan. The UK has already assisted Pakistan in developing counter-terrorism capabilities through the Counter Improvised Explosive Device Program, but IEDs continue to be a threat in that region. Only 2 weeks ago, an IED attack killed 4 security force personnel in Pakistan's lower Khoram. Greater assistance is also required to help return the large number of refugees to Afghanistan. Since 2002, UNHCR has facilitated the return of 3.8 million registered Afghans from Pakistan, and there are still around 1.5 million registered refugees in the country, with unofficial figures suggesting this could be more than 3.5 million, the largest protected refugee population in the world. Pakistan also needs international cooperation to tackle extremist groups who may operate from abroad. There are, for example, real concerns about some elements in the Balochistan Liberation Army, the BLA, who it is said are cooperating with extremists to enact violence in Pakistan. Hizb ut-Tahrir has openly attempted to recruit Pakistani military officers to revolt against the Pakistan army, and it needs assistance to tackle Hizb ut-Tahrir's finances and supporters operating from outside the country. The Peshawar attack was an attack on a school, was a direct assault on education and the country's future generations. It was a reminder that there are still those who want to prevent children in Pakistan from learning. Seeking knowledge and education, as many religious texts, hadiths, make clear, is an obligation on Muslims, both men and women. I know that the government has continued to support Pakistan through aid, with 4 million primary school children benefiting and more than 20,000 classrooms being constructed. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, Pakistan is still on the road to reform, and there is still much work to be done to improve its own institutions and create a more robust law and order system. This includes assistance in police capacity building, canine training, and explosive detection computer and mobile phones forensic labs, CID jammers, body armour, by way of some examples. The Peshawar attack was the worst terrorist attack that Pakistan has suffered, and only through cooperation and collaboration, standing shoulder to shoulder with one of our key partners, who we share a long history with, can terrorism be defeated. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I thank you once again for giving me the chance to put forward this debate tonight, and I look forward to hearing the Minister's reply in due course.
Order. I think the Honourable Lady has the agreement of the Honourable Gentleman for Gillingham and Rainham and of the Minister to contribute, but of course time must be left for the Minister to respond, so a pithy contribution would be orderly. Yasmin Qureshi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and can I congratulate the Honourable Gentleman for getting this adjournment debate. I'll speak very fast because I think I've probably only got a couple of minutes, because I know the Minister probably would obviously want to take his time. I just wanted to draw up a few facts. I think one of the things people forget is that when Pakistan joined our war and to deal with the Russian threat in Afghanistan and the invasion, one of the consequences of, apart from causing instability and violence, is the fact 10 million people were left homeless in Afghanistan and came to Pakistan. So Pakistan had to bear the burden of that. Also, over this fight and war on terror, Pakistan has suffered economically something like 30-40 billion pounds over the last number of 20 odd years, and in fact has suffered casualties of more than 30,000 in civilian and also 10,000 of army. So I think when we think about Pakistan and recently what happened in Peshawar, of course, the dreadful circumstances, It is great to see that our government and the previous government has always been very good in their relationship with Pakistan, and I hope that the government will continue to work with people of Pakistan, and in particular the people in Peshawar with what happened.
I call the Minister Tobias Elwood to reply to the Honourable Lady.
Thank you,
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend, the member for Gillingham and Rainham, for bringing this debate on our support to Pakistan since the terrible attack on the Army Public School in Peshawar on the 16th of December last year. It is right that this House debates developments in the 40 days since that attack on this country, which is a key ally and a close friend of the United Kingdom. The attack robbed parents, families and friends of their children. As parliamentarians, we struggle for meaningful words in response to an attack of this scale. It offends our values as democratic politicians and threatens our work for rule of law and the peaceful development of nations. As parents, uncles, aunts or grandparents ourselves, we try to comprehend the staggering losses borne by so many families in Peshawar, the silence they face in place of the irrepressible noise of childhood, the empty spaces at so many family tables. And as my honourable friend, the Foreign Secretary, said at the time, nothing can justify such a horrific attack on children going to school. The UK continues to stand shoulder to shoulder with the government and people of Pakistan in the fight against terrorism and of extremism. This attack reminded us of one of the constant rule of terrorism. Those who suffer the most are the citizens of countries blighted by extremism, the men, the women and children kidnapped by Boko Haram in Nigeria, the communities living in mortal fear of ISIL in Syria and Iraq, the boys and girls in Pakistan living in the shadow of the Pakistani Taliban, and other militant groups, children for whom school should be a safe haven. My honourable friend asked me what the UK has offered Pakistan since the attack and what more we can achieve together. And I can assure the House that we continue to work with the Pakistani government across a range of issues, a multi-track approach. But we must help Pakistan tackle the root causes of violent extremism. Part of that is our work on promoting inclusion, economic development, education and health services to lift Pakistan's people out of poverty and fill the societal cracks in which extremism festers and indeed grows. We are also encouraging Pakistan to reduce the space for extremist ideologies. Mr. Speaker, it's fair to say that Pakistan cannot beat terrorism alone. The scale of the challenge is huge, and the UK is a key partner for Pakistan in this fight. So let me outline some of the ways in which we are helping. Firstly, in supporting Pakistan's economy. It's part of my job to show British businesses the opportunities that working and investing in Pakistan can offer. And I very much want to counter the impression that appalling incidents such as the attack on the school generate in my reply today. As my old friend knows well, Pakistan and Pakistanis offer visitors a warm welcome. Their generosity and hospitality is legendary, and it must transcend such violence. We already have solid business links and strong growth projections for our bilateral trade investment, and we must not let that slip from our grasp. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had the pleasure of giving the opening remarks at the 3rd annual UK-Pakistan Trade and Investment Conference. We know the majority of Pakistanis want the same things that people everywhere want: an education for them and their children, the chance to have a good job, and the chance to live in peaceful and prosperous state. We have a trade and investment roadmap that sets out our joint targets for economic growth and growth that will begin to address this need. And we have made a joint trade bilateral target set out by our Prime Ministers of £3 billion annually by the end of this year. It is a challenging target, but we think this is achievable. We also need to support the victims of the families caught up in such atrocities, and the Department of International Development is working closely with the provincial government and the UK charity Merlin to provide psychological support services to the victims and families and wider community affected by the Peshawar school incident. This will enable up to 7 psychological family centres to be opened, enabling home visitors to the affected families will be established, and child psychotrauma centres at the Lady Reading Hospital, Peshawar, to treat the most serious cases. We must also support and strengthen the democratic process in Pakistan. This is critical, not just for the future of the millions of Pakistanis, but for the security of the region and our own security here in the UK. In 2013, Mr. Speaker, millions of Pakistanis voted in general elections. For the first time in Pakistan's history, one full-term, democratically elected government was passed power to another. My honourable friend, the Prime Minister, was the first head of government to visit Pakistan after this historic election in June 2013, emphasising the UK's support for this process. This was a victory for democracy and a welcome progress. It is not the progress that terrorists want to see. And we also need to support Pakistan on education and health, a point that was made on an intervention by my honourable friend for Stafford. My honourable friend knows that we are supporting education and health through our DFID-led aid programmes, and these programmes help give the poorest people in Pakistan access to public services, promote peace and stability, democracy, and also macroeconomic stability, growth and jobs. We're also supporting Pakistan's national security, and my honourable friend covered a number of areas in which we're providing support in these areas. Time is against me, Mr. Speaker. It is a shame that we do not have longer to debate this important matter, but I hope this issue will return to the House. In conclusion, as my honourable friend knows well, our countries share strong connections through our extensive diaspora links. There are over 1.1 million people in the UK of Pakistani heritage, and more than 1 million trips are made annually between our two countries. The diaspora makes a significant contribution to British life, with many famous, successful and prominent members across sport, culture, business and, of course, Parliament. That familiarity between us is what makes so much of our family, government, military and business relationships easy. It's what makes the Peshawar school attack so painful for us. Mr. Speaker, we know that there is rarely, if ever, a purely military solution to terrorism. Many countries, including the UK and Pakistan, are engaged in a long-term effort to deny terrorist groups the space to operate, to help vulnerable countries develop their law enforcement capabilities, and to address the injustice and conflict which terrorists exploit. Muslim communities often bear the brunt of terrorism, as has been said today, at the hands of people who espouse a distorted and violent interpretation of a great and peaceful religion. My honourable friend was right to point out that terrorism and Islam are not the same. We believe our British values uphold that people of different faiths and cultures can live together in peace. We know that the fight against terrorism will be protracted, but we know that by working together with our friends and our allies, we can win.
Order. The question is that this House do now adjourn. As many as have that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Order.